She looked like my wife, talked like her. But the real Claire was begging for help from the mirror. I used to think my wife's sleepwalking was harmless. The first time it happened, I found her standing in the hallway at 3 a.m., staring at our front door like she was waiting for someone. I gently guided her back to bed, and in the morning, she didn't remember a thing. We laughed it off, even Googled it. Common sleep disorder, the article said, usually stress-related. But then it started happening every night. Same time, same spot, same blank stare. And then she started whispering things. At first, I couldn't make out the words. Just soft, garbled murmurs. But one night, I stood close enough to hear her clearly. She said, "Don't let him in again." I froze. We live alone. No kids. No roommates. No one to let in. I tried to convince myself it was just a dream, that maybe I misheard her. But something in her voice, low, urgent, afraid, made my stomach turn. Then, one night, I woke up to find her gone. Not in the hallway. Not in the kitchen. The front door was wide open, and her footprints led into the woods behind our house. I didn't think. I just ran, barefoot, in boxers. No flashlight. The cold bit at my skin, branches slapped my face, but I didn't stop. Her footprints were fresh in the dewy grass, pressing deeper into the forest with each step. My heart was beating so fast I could barely breathe. About 200 feet in, I spotted her. She was standing still in the middle of a small clearing with her back to me. "Babe," I called, trying to sound calm, even though my voice cracked. She didn't move. I stepped closer. "Claire, it's me. Are you okay?" Still nothing. And then she whispered something again. So quietly, I almost didn't hear it. "He said you shouldn't have followed." My blood turned ice. "Who said that?" I asked, inching forward. She finally turned her head toward me, just enough to show half her face. Her eyes were open, but they weren't her eyes. I don't even know how to explain it. It was like she was awake and empty at the same time. Like something else was inside her, staring at me. Then she screamed. Loud, piercing, animalistic. It echoed through the trees like it didn't belong in a human throat. I rushed to her, wrapped my arms around her shoulders, and suddenly she collapsed. Her body went limp in my hands, and her breathing steadied. She blinked, confused. What are we doing out here?" she whispered. That's when I realized she didn't remember a thing, and I wasn't going to tell her. Not yet. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't sleepwalking anymore. This was something else. Something that had followed her out of the woods. The next morning, Claire didn't remember a single thing. Not the screaming. Not the walk into the woods. Not even me carrying her back inside. She just rubbed her eyes, gave me a sleepy kiss on the cheek, and asked if I wanted pancakes. I said yes, because I didn't know what else to say. But while she stirred the batter and hummed some old melody she always loved, I couldn't stop staring at the faint scratches on her ankles. Like something had grabbed her in the dark. Later that afternoon, I checked her phone. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I was desperate to understand what was happening. There were no messages, no calls, but there was one odd thing. In her Notes app, a new entry, dated 3:08 a.m. Just one sentence. "He says the trees remember." My hands started shaking. That night, I installed cameras, motion sensors, even nailed shut the back door, quietly, while Claire was asleep. I didn't sleep, just watched the monitors. Watched her. At exactly 2:59 a.m., the motion sensor by the hallway lit up. Claire walked slowly past it, eyes open, face blank, straight to the back door, the one I'd sealed shut. When she realized it wouldn't open, she turned her head toward the camera and smiled. Not Claire's smile. Not even human, really. I stared in horror as she leaned closer to the camera and mouthed a single word. No sound, just lips moving. Soon, she turned and went back to bed. The next morning, she was normal again. Laughing, drinking coffee, talking about what show we should binge. But something had changed in me. I wasn't just scared anymore. I was starting to think Claire wasn't sleepwalking. She was being led, and I needed to find out by what. I called in sick to work that day. Claire left like usual, blowing me a kiss from the porch. I watched her until she was completely out of sight, just to be sure she wasn't faking it, pretending to go somewhere while the thing inside her stayed behind. Then I pulled out every old photo album, every journal, every file I had on Claire. I don't know what I thought I'd find, some clue, some break in the story of who she was before this house. Before him. Instead, I found something even worse. A photo I'd never seen before, tucked behind the lining of a shoebox marked college stuff. It was Claire, maybe 20 years old, smiling in front of a bonfire, her hair wild in the wind. And behind her? Those same woods, the ones behind our house. The same twisted, bare trees. I looked closer, heart racing. There was someone standing between the trees. Almost hidden. A face. Not human. Its eyes glowed like dull coals. And it was staring straight into the camera. I dropped the photo and stepped back. For the first time since this started, I felt like I was the one being watched. I knew I had to talk to her. That night, once she came home, we had dinner like normal. I kept my voice calm, my face blank. I didn't want to scare her or whatever was inside her. Then I pulled the photo from my pocket and slid it across the table. Claire, what is this? She froze. Didn't even look down. Her fork clinked against the plate as she let it go. Then, slowly, she lifted her eyes to meet mine and said, "You weren't supposed to find that." My blood ran cold. I whispered, "What is that thing?" She finally glanced down at the picture, tilted her head. "That's the reason I never go near the woods. It followed me once, when I was young. I thought I left it behind." She looked up again. This time, tears in her eyes. "But it found me. And now it wants you, too." The silence that followed her words felt suffocating. I stared at Claire, through her, searching for something familiar in her face. But whatever warmth or playfulness once lit her eyes had vanished. All that was left was fear. Pure, hollow fear. "You have to tell me everything," I said quietly, trying to steady my voice. "From the beginning." Claire hesitated, then nodded. "I was 19. We were at a cabin, me and some friends. Someone dared us to do this old ritual they'd read about online. Stupid stuff. Light a fire, say a name 3 times while looking into the woods. Nothing happened that night, at least, not to everyone else." She swallowed hard. "But I saw it. Just for a second. A shadow between the trees with a face like bone. It smiled at me. After that, I kept seeing it. Behind windows. In mirrors. Even in my dreams. My friends thought I was losing it." She looked up, lips trembling. "It stopped when I moved away. When I met you, I thought maybe it was gone for good. But I was wrong. I think it was just waiting." I felt the air shift around us, like something invisible had pressed its weight into the room. I stood up, moving toward the window instinctively. The backyard was still. Too still. "Claire, why didn't you tell me?" She looked down at her hands. "Because it doesn't like being talked about. And the more you know, the more you see, the more real it becomes." A cold knock echoed through the house. Not the front door. The back. Claire's eyes widened in horror. "You didn't open the back window today, did you?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because suddenly, I remembered. I had. This morning. Just for a moment. I'd left it open. Only for a moment. I didn't realize I was backing away from the window until my heel hit the leg of the coffee table. Claire was frozen in place, staring at the back door like it might come crashing down any second. Then another knock. Only this time, it wasn't just a knock. It was a scrape. A long, slow drag across the glass, like claws testing the barrier. "It's not supposed to be able to come in unless," Claire whispered, clutching her arms, "unless you let it." I shook my head. "No. I just opened it for air. I didn't invite anything in." Claire looked at me then, and for the first time since this started, she wasn't scared. She was angry. "You don't understand," she said. "That thing doesn't need words. Curiosity is an invitation. Doubt is an invitation. And you." She pointed at me, her voice rising. "You started asking questions. You opened doors in your mind, not just the house." The back door creaked. Not from being opened, but from pressure. Like something leaning on it. And then, faintly, something whispered my name. A voice I didn't recognize, but it sounded so familiar. Like it had been hiding in my subconscious all my life, waiting to be remembered. I grabbed Claire's hand. "We have to leave." She didn't move. Her eyes locked onto something behind me. Very slowly, I turned. There, by the hallway leading to our bedroom, a tall, twisted shadow stood just outside the light. Its limbs were wrong, joints bending where they shouldn't, head tilted too far to one side. But the face was mine, smiling. I couldn't breathe. The thing in the hallway just stood there, taller than me, impossibly thin, wearing my face like a cheap Halloween mask. It tilted its head the other way, slowly, mechanically, like a puppet on invisible strings. Claire gripped my hand so hard I thought she might draw blood. "Don't look at it," she whispered. "That's how it gets in. Through your eyes." But I couldn't look away. There was something behind the smile, like a second mouth forming underneath the surface, just waiting to open. Then it stepped forward. Not walked, glided. No footsteps, no sound. And the lights in the hallway flickered. "Go," I whispered to Claire. "Run to the car. Now. I'm not leaving you. You're not. We're both going. Now." I grabbed my keys and shoved her toward the front door. Behind me, I heard the hallway creak. One footfall, then another. But I didn't turn around. I focused on Claire, on her small hand in mine, and we bolted out the door into the night. The second we hit the driveway, every light in the house went out. Complete blackness behind us. I didn't wait. We jumped in the car, and I reversed so fast I nearly took out our mailbox. Claire sobbed beside me, trying not to look back. "What was that?" I asked, my voice shaking. She wiped her nose and looked at me, completely serious. "You invited it with questions. You fed it by remembering." "Remembering what?" She didn't answer. She just looked out the window as we sped off down the street and whispered, "You don't remember the first time it came." We didn't stop driving for miles. Claire didn't speak. She just stared out the window, pale, lips trembling like she was holding something inside, something too big for a kid to carry. Finally, when the silence became unbearable, I pulled into an empty grocery store parking lot and killed the engine. "Claire," I said, turning to her gently, "what did you mean? The first time it came?" She hesitated. Then, quietly, "It's not the first time it wore your face." I felt a coldness ripple through me. "What are you talking about, baby?" She turned her head and looked me straight in the eye. "You forgot. That's what it wants. When people forget, it can come back. It tries again." My mouth went dry. "Claire, have I ever forgotten you?" She nodded once. "For a whole day? You made me lunch, but you didn't say my name. You smiled, but it wasn't your smile. I told Grandma, and she said, 'Don't worry, it passes.' But then she got sick. My stomach dropped. Grandma, my mom, she passed away 3 months ago, suddenly. Heart failure, they said. No warning." Claire's eyes welled with tears. She said the creature followed her when she was a girl, too. But nobody believed her. I stared out the windshield, frozen, unable to process what I was hearing. A thing that wears your face. A thing that feeds when you forget the people you love. I whispered, "What does it want?" Claire didn't blink. "It wants to become you. It starts with little things. A smile. A word. A memory. And when it takes enough, it doesn't need your face anymore." Suddenly, my phone buzzed. I jumped. It was a text from Aaron. "Hey, are you guys okay? You left the house so fast." My blood turned to ice. Because Aaron was out of town, on a business trip. I had talked to him just hours ago. He was 2 states away. My hands shook as I typed. "Are you home right now?" 3 dots. Then, "Of course. You just saw me, remember?" Smiley face. Claire looked at the screen over my shoulder and said, barely audible, "That's not Dad." I dropped the phone. Claire flinched at the clatter, and I immediately pulled her close, my mind spinning like a siren. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but we were already gone, weren't we? "Aaron's not home," I whispered. "He's supposed to be 2 states away. I talked to him. He was in a hotel room." Claire didn't say anything. She just clutched the stuffed fox she'd brought from the house, her knuckles white. I picked up my phone and tried calling Aaron's real number, the one I knew by heart. No answer. I tried again. Voicemail. Then I noticed it. A new photo in my shared album. It was a live photo, taken just minutes ago. I tapped it, and the screen came alive. There, standing in our living room, was me. Not the real me. The thing. It looked almost perfect, my posture, my hair, my eyes. But it was smiling. That same wrong smile Claire had talked about. Too wide. Too still. And behind it, I saw something I hadn't expected. A mirror. But the reflection didn't match the body. In the mirror, the thing was tall, twisted, like a shadow stretched out of shape. Black holes where the eyes should be. Something wet and glistening behind its mouth. I hit the pause on the live photo and stared at it. My breath caught. Then, a message popped up on the screen. From Aaron. You can't keep her from me forever. I nearly dropped the phone again. Claire, I said, swallowing my fear. I need you to listen very carefully. She nodded, eyes huge. We're not going back to that house. Not until we know how to stop it. I know, she whispered. And then she said something that chilled me to the bone. I think it followed you out. I froze. The words echoed in my mind like a gunshot in a canyon. I think it followed you out. Claire wasn't panicking. She wasn't crying. She said it with this calm, eerie certainty, like she knew it was true. Claire, what do you mean? She didn't answer right away. Her eyes shifted, not to me, but past me. Then she said quietly, You've been acting different too. A chill swept over my spine. What? I whispered, forcing a shaky laugh. Claire, it's me. I'm your dad. I know, she said, still not looking at me. But sometimes, you don't feel like you. My mouth went dry. What do you mean? Since when? Since the motel. After you came back from the store. You smelled wrong. Like the house. I remembered that night. I had gone out, just down the street to get snacks. Claire had been half asleep when I got back. I never thought much of it. Claire, I knelt down in front of her. Look at me. Do you think I'm the thing? She looked into my eyes for the first time in what felt like hours. Studied me. Then she slowly shook her head. No, but it's near. I feel it. Sometimes. I hear it whisper your voice when you're not in the room. That was it. I couldn't explain it away anymore. There was something trying to take my place. To take her. I grabbed my phone and opened the live photo again, heart racing. The reflection in the mirror was still wrong. That thing had no real form. It only wore mine like a costume. And suddenly, I realized something else. In every picture Claire had taken, there were mirrors, always behind it, always catching the truth. My mind was spinning. The mirrors could see it. And maybe, just maybe, they could show us how to stop it. That night, I didn't sleep. Neither did Claire. We sat in the living room with every light on, every mirror in the house uncovered, placed in full view. Even the old one from the attic. I set it right across from us, facing the hallway. Claire clung to my arm, her eyes locked on the mirror like it was a window into another world. I think it hates mirrors, she whispered. I nodded slowly. Yeah, it can't lie to them. Then the silence settled back in. Heavy, suffocating. At exactly 3:07 a.m., the hallway lights flickered. I stood. My pulse hammered in my neck. Stay here, I told Claire, my voice barely above a whisper. She grabbed my hand. Don't go. But I had to. If it was here, if it was finally showing itself, I needed to face it. I needed to know. I moved toward the hallway. The old floorboards creaked with every step. I didn't even have to look behind me to know Claire was watching through the mirror. I turned the corner and froze. There I was, standing at the other end of the hallway, grinning. It wore my face, my clothes, but the eyes were hollow, completely black. Its mouth opened slowly, like it was about to speak. But no sound came out. Instead, the mirror next to me shattered. I jumped back, covering my face. Claire screamed from the living room. When I looked again, the thing was gone. But a single word had been scratched into the wall where it stood. Mine. And that's when I realized. It didn't want to haunt the house. It wanted to replace me. And Claire was the only one who could tell the difference. The morning after the hallway incident, everything felt off. The mirrors, every last one, had hairline cracks running through them. Even the ones we hadn't touched. The house was quiet, but it wasn't the peaceful kind. It was the kind of silence that listens. Claire sat across from me at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped tightly around a steaming mug she hadn't taken a single sip from. We need to leave, she said, finally. Burn this place down if we have to. I nodded. It sounded sane, rational. But the problem wasn't just the house anymore. Because while we were packing, I caught something wrong. Claire had gone upstairs to grab her photo albums. I stayed in the living room, stuffing clothes into duffel bags. I looked up, and she was suddenly standing at the foot of the stairs. No footsteps. No sound. Just standing. She smiled, but something in me froze. The smile didn't reach her eyes. And those eyes, they were just slightly too wide. I got everything, she said. My stomach turned. I forced a smile. Okay. Great. Let me grab the car keys. I walked past her, never turning my back, and stepped into the hallway. The mirror by the door was cracked, but I could still see my reflection, and hers, standing behind me. Except in the mirror, she wasn't smiling. She was staring, completely still, unblinking, and her mouth started to move, but not with her real lips. Just in the reflection, it whispered, "You chose her. Now I'll take her." My blood ran cold. I turned around, and she was gone. Just gone. I ran through the house screaming her name. Bedroom, bathroom, even the attic. Nothing. Then, I heard the front door creak open. I ran downstairs, and there she was again. Claire. Out of breath. Hair messy. Eyes wide with panic. "Where were you?" I demanded. "I went to the car," she said. "I thought you were right behind me." And that's when I knew. One of them wasn't her. But I had no idea which one. I stared at her like she was a ghost. Maybe she was. Maybe both of them were. Claire stood in the doorway, clutching the keys, confused by my panic. "Why are you looking at me like that?" she asked. I took a step back. "Where did you go before that?" I asked carefully. "Exactly. To the car. I swear. You said you'd be right there." I looked at her eyes. They were trembling, on the verge of tears. That was real. That had to be real, right? But then, what about the other one? I needed proof. Something only Claire would know. I reached into my back pocket, pulling out the small photo she always carried in her wallet, the one of us from our first road trip. I found it last night on the hallway floor after the thing disappeared. I hadn't told her yet. "Where's this from?" I asked, holding it up. Her expression shifted. Not confused. Not blank. Heartbroken. "That was from our second day on the Oregon coast," she said. "It rained the whole trip, remember? You wouldn't shut up about the clam chowder." I exhaled. Relief. Real, bone-deep relief. But it lasted only a second. Because behind her, in the hallway mirror, I saw another Claire. Standing motionless. Watching us. She wasn't a reflection. She was inside the mirror. Trapped. Mouth moving silently. I stepped closer. The Claire in the mirror raised her hand, mimicking me, but her expression was twisted with desperation. She mouthed 3 slow words. "I'm right here." The Claire beside me didn't react. Didn't see it. She put a hand on my shoulder. "Let's go. Please." My stomach twisted. My real Claire was trapped, which meant the one touching me right now wasn't her. I froze. Claire's hand was still resting on my shoulder. It felt warm, human, but every instinct in me screamed to pull away. The Claire in the mirror was pounding on the glass now, frantic, panicked. Her mouth stretched in a silent scream, her eyes locked on mine. "I'm right here," she mouthed again, tears streaking her face. "Babe," the Claire beside me whispered. "Let's get out of here. This place is getting to you." I turned slowly to face her. "If you're Claire, what was the name of the stray cat we fed for a week before it disappeared?" She blinked, then smiled. "You mean Pebbles?" My blood ran cold. Claire and I never named that cat. That was the whole joke. Every time she tried to name it, I refused, said we weren't keeping it. Only I knew that. Only the real Claire. The mirror Claire was shaking her head now, mouthing something new over and over. "Don't trust her. Don't trust her." I backed away. The fake Claire's smile began to falter. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice lower now, flatter. Like it wasn't meant for comfort, but mimicry. I took a shaky breath. "You're not her." Her face twitched, just a little, like she was tired of pretending. And then, in a voice too calm, too slow, she said, "I didn't want it to go this way." I turned and ran. Not down the hallway, through the hallway. Toward the mirror. Toward the real Claire. And as I reached out and touched the glass, she reached back. We both screamed. The world turned black.